to wake up. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up.
Good afternoon again, dear GreenTech Festival, and a warm welcome. We start a bit with like Hollywood framing, I think. Welcome to all the trailblazers of mobility in the ever-evolving landscape of transportation. We've seen quite a bit already today. Where speed reigns supreme and innovation is the currency, it's easy to get lost in the whirlwind of progress. That's why, amidst this fast-paced Wild West, so to say, of mobility, one question remains: how do we navigate towards sustainable success? And I'm really happy that you're keen to join us in the Moving the Right panel as we explore the intersection of cutting-edge technologies, sleek algorithms, and eco-conscious transportation solutions. It's not just about moving people and goods, of course. It's about moving towards a brighter, greener future. This is what GreenTech Festival is all about. And I suggest we ride with these panels and experts on this panel. She is member of the management board for Digitalization and Technology at Deutsche Bahn AG, Daniela, Gerd, Markotten. A warm welcome. You are, this was a bit of applause, we can get more of that. He's the Executive Vice President and CEO Germany Division of Stadler Rail, Jure Mikolčić. A warm welcome and a lots of applause, please. Yeah, that's... We have a climax here, I'm sure. And the partner and managing director at BCG, Boston Consulting Group, Annika Zawadzki. Thank you for being here. I promised Hollywood, and we do a bit of Hollywood, because my first question would be, as the icebreaker today, which existing film title best describes the Verkehrswende, the transition to sustainable transportation? What would you say?
Actually, I'm not so sure about the Verkehrswende, but as I told you yesterday that I have 3 boys, and so there is only one answer to your question, and that is Star Wars. Perhaps not so much about sustainable transportation, but very much about innovative mobility solutions.
That's a good answer. What will you say, Annika?
Yeah, I was first thinking about Dune to show or highlight the worst case scenario, but I'm rather optimistic, so I go with Back to the Future, and I like it because it shows technological fascination and optimism, and I think we have quite some challenges ahead, and the technology and tools available to tackle it. So
we will talk about optimism in a bit as well. Jure, what's the movie that reminds you of Verkehrswende or sustainable transition?
I also have no idea how to link a movie to this topic, but I had a little time to prepare myself. I'd say Interstellar, because there's so many things that you wouldn't imagine today, and I think something like this will happen with us too.
Okay, that's a brilliant kickoff. I would also like to know, on a scale from 1 to 10, how sustainable would you rate the current state of your respective segment within the mobility industry? How sustainable is it? 0 being not sustainable at all, 10 being exemplary. What would you say, Jure? Yes?
Something 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
6
and
or 7,
where does Stadler
stand? Increasing really fast. So
okay.
I would say maybe 10 years ago it was a 3 or 4. So I think we're growing here.
And where's Stadler?
So if the industry is 6 or 7, I'd say we're 7.
Okay. Bold statement. Yes. What will you say, Annika, in general?
In general, well, if I have a macro view, I would say 3 to 4.
Oh, okay. Bit more pessimistic. Daniela, what do you say?
Yeah, I would have said if you look in our sector of mobility, railway would get a 9 out of 10. We are the most sustainable mode of transportation. That is why I said, hey, let's bring it up. And if you ask for my company, I think the thing is to say, hey, most sustainable mode of transportation, let's keep it there. But to say, okay, let's broaden the scope, that not only focusing on climate protection, but also on biodiversity, on scope 3, on our railway infrastructure. So there's still room for improvement.
So what's the number? Just want to hear a number now for Deutsche Bahn.
I said 9 out of 10
yeah.
compared to other modes of transportation.
And the mobility sector in general?
Compared to others, then it's more like Annika said.
Oh, so Deutsche Bahn is on top. Okay, I got it. Annika, you were part of quite a big major study. It was called Accelerating the Shift to Sustainable Transport. What surprised you in that study? What were the findings?
Look, I think transport is a critical factor of decarbonization, but it really ranks, badly, as we just discussed, after power generation and also industrial sectors. In Germany, for example, it contributes 22% to overall greenhouse gas emissions. And when I look at the global level, I think we are not doing enough yet, because if I look at the nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement, 168 states have to turn them in, and 98% mention transport and the transport sector, but only 33% set themselves target to reduce CO2 emissions. That's why I said I would say 3 or 4. And I think, we see five, really main challenges. Transport demand is growing. If we look at 2050, numbers show that its passenger demand is growing by 80% and freight demand is growing by 100%. We have a strong coupling between GDP growth and transport, which we need to break, and which is particularly difficult in the global south because they are just growing. In the northern world, we are starting to break that connection. And if we look at in the past, $100 GDP growth per capita added 44 kilometers on top on transport demand. Then we have the infrastructure investment that you need to have in order to move to a more sustainable and CO2 reduced world. We have the interdependency between transport and the energy sector. And what I think is really important is data availability and accessibility, because I believe in decision making based on facts and figures. And in order to do that, you need to have the numbers. There. Often they are cluttered, they don't fit together, and then it's difficult to analyze them. I think it will change a lot with Gen AI. So I'm very optimistic. As I said, I'm an optimistic, but I think there's still some way to go. And if we look at how to decarbonize the transport sector, we always think in 3 levers: avoid, shift, and also prove. And avoid is really, reducing motorized travel, which I think is looked at short, I think. And I would like to draw upon 2 concepts. I would say car pride, and I think it's not too unfamiliar in Germany, having your own car, driving it, and that has something to do with social status. Especially, around the world, but also in Germany. Then you have the topic of work-related travel. If we would reduce work-related travel by 1 day per week, we would save 24 million tons, and that's the number of what Greater London emits every year. Then we have the shift, shifting to rail or other sustainable ways, and also sharing more and things like that. So I think there are lots of options out there which we can enforce and use. And in the end, of course, everything around improvement and the interesting technology improvement and enhancing sustainability of personalized vehicles and so on. And what I really found very interesting is that historically we focused a lot on improvement. 50% of measures in the national contributions is on improvement, but not a lot is focused on avoiding and shifting. Only 10 and 30%. But if we really would work on those 2 levers, we could contribute 60% to CO2 reductions at often, I have to say, a lower cost. So I think there's still some way to go. As Marty McFly would say, that what we do in the past has a lot of influence and impact on the future.
You already raised some of the obstacles in the way towards shifting the industry. Jure, what would you say? What were, if you look a bit behind before we look towards the future, what were the biggest challenges so far? What's the pressing roadblock in the way to a more sustainable transportation system?
If you look at it as a customer who wants to use this product, I think we really made some really good progress in the German railway industry and with our clients like Deutsche Bahn, because I think it's important to make people want to use something, not make them use a product. So as I said in the past, we need to make sure that a person who drives to work in his SUV wants to use public transport because it's safe, it's with air conditioning, good seating, LAN networks, whatever. So I think we're always asked to offer something, and by offering we need to be very creative, have the best technology, best knowledge about what clients want, and create by this new technical solutions. Then, of course, our customers need to put it in our offers, that they want to buy this, because it's a pricing question, of course. You cannot put anything in the train that we are capable of doing. So you need to be in a very good contact of technology, our customers that know what their customers, the people who use the products, want, and then offer the best solutions. And I think if you look to the past, if we look at the first electric locomotive, 1870-something, in regard to today, this technology progress is really increasing tremendously. We talk about digitalization, all these topics, ETCS. You cannot compare the last 20 years to the 20 years from before. So it's really increasing, and yeah.
We talk also about the digital aspects of it in a bit. Daniela, what would you say? Is there something really frustrating you, a challenge that shouldn't be there, a roadblock that shouldn't be there, and what is it?
Yeah, you're asking an optimist and someone who's really driving this topic forward and shifting modes of transportation. And it's as Jure said, you really have to win customers over, so they have to be excited and say, I want to take the train,
yes,
because I can use the time in whichever way I want, and I have connectivity and all that, what I would expect. And so innovation, I think, is driving this shift. That is one thing. And what is also important, and you asked me what frustrates me, it's not frustrating, but just to keep in mind, Deutsche Bahn is the biggest electricity consumer in Germany, so it's a question about availability of renewable energies as well, and it's a question of cost. And so this is something that we have to tie together, and we have our mission to say in 2040 we are completely climate neutral, circular economy, all these kind of things. But it's still something that we have to take into account, because the customers might not pay any price for a ticket, so we have to keep that in a good balance.
Annika mentioned that the social status influences the choice of the transportation device. Does it play a role in making the Deutsche Bahn something dependent on the social status, making it, I don't know, cool or...
Yeah.
Yeah?
It should be. That should be the ambition, to say it's cool to go by train, and it's convenient. And I think that is, in the end, the decision, to say, is it convenient for me? As I said, can I use the time the way I want? And then we can turn that paradigm around and say it's not about a social status, it's about time and convenience. That is what we are reaching out for.
Does it play a role if you, for example, built a new S-Bahn for Berlin?
I think if I look at my own family, my children, something has already changed. Like in my generation, I grew up in a small village. Everybody wanted to do his driver's license with 18. My older son, we nearly had to make him do it, because he said, we live in the south of Berlin, there's no need to have it. And I think this is such a big change that it's up on us as an industry or Deutsche Bahn to react on this, but it's already there. We need to react.
Is it a factor in how you build, in how you design the trains, and how you concept the trains? The social status idea of it, that it's cool to ride a train?
No. I think what we think about is that in general people want to use this product. So today we talk about interior lighting concepts, interiors in general, materials, haptic, all these topics, make people have a secure feeling of using these products. If you use a subway during a night, being by yourself, you want to feel safe. And we think about things like that. So.
If we go back to the question of digitalization and new technologies, Daniela, what role does that play in terms of creating transparency, in terms of providing feedback and increase efficiency in the industry?
Yeah, that definitely helps us. So most probably you're asking for AI, so artificial intelligence, and that is something what we are driving forward. Just as one example, we use satellite and artificial intelligence to do vegetation management. Sounds a little bit strange, but it's really about tree population and to see how trees are growing and if there is a danger that they fall down on our infrastructure, and to foresee that and to predict that will keep the trains running. For example, predictive maintenance is something that we do. Digital twins is something really to know what's going on in our trains, what's going on in our infrastructure, and so to prevent any problems beforehand so that customers will not see it. And that is what we do together with Stadler, working on a digital train or digital twin for our trains. Yeah.
How does the customer see the digital impact on the train? How would I feel it, Jure?
You would feel it by using the technical offers that we have. So you would see, do you have connectivity, all these things. What you would not see, but you would actually feel it, is the reliability of the product. Do all the doors work? Does the HVAC, the climate system work? There we do a lot of predictive maintenance. You would not see it, but you would feel it by the use of the product, not knowing that what is KI behind it. So,
if we talk about innovation, for example, ChatGPT, first there's this huge aura of a great innovation, and then there's the talk about, is it really sustainable? The amount of water it's being used, like cooling down all the systems. Just as an example for that, how do we make these digital technologies greener, Daniela?
Yeah, for us it's an important topic. We have a program called Green IT on all our developers. We have about 7,000 at Deutsche Bahn. They have something like a developer dashboard, really saying when they're doing code that they see what CO2 footprint they will have with their coding. So it's really the question how exact the results have to be, how much data is taken into account. So all these kind of things. So that is quite important. And the good thing is that we are driving this initiative for quite long already. And if you can show the developers what sustainable impact it has. For example, our air conditioning is about 40% or could be up to 40% of the electricity consumption in a train. So to run that and balance that with the help of AI really creates an impact that developers feel. Yeah?
Interesting.
Yeah.
How crucial, I mean, sustainability probably has been being mentioned on the stage quite a lot. It's a huge topic. How important is that term in terms of the mindset of your employees when building a new train? How do they think about sustainability? Do they think about it all the time? How do you make sure that it's present and something you need to apply on, Jure?
I would imagine a person that decides to work in our industry wants to be sustainable as it is, because our product is sustainable. We built it for 30 years. We discuss engineering about life cycle costs. We do, as many companies, we do refurbishment of trains. We just refurbished trams in Bochum. So they're from 1988. If you see them today, you would think it's fairly a new tram that is driving there, and it was really stripped down to nothing. So I would say it's the DNA of a person who works in this industry. It's there all day.
What would you say, Annika, in terms of the buzzword sustainability?
I think that is super important because awareness and knowledgeability of the population and also employees, I think, is totally key. And I think that is often underestimated because I believe that you need to help people to understand I think the macro perspective, but also, of course, their own contribution and their own footprint. And I mean, that is a complex topic that is not always clear to everyone. And I think that's why it's so super important that for example, employees offer training courses, where employees can learn about climate and sustainability issues for, of course, the section where they are working in, but also overall. I believe it's also important that they help to work on strategies but also implement them maybe in their offices to really see a tangible impact and that they can contribute and also change something, because often you have the feeling you can't really change something or you can't really contribute, or it doesn't matter if you contribute. And then last but not least, I think it's really important that corporates really include that in their governance, in their structures, and also set up tools that you can see how is your work life contributing, to the overall CO2 budget of the company, and also trickling down to you as a person, because then I think it makes you think about maybe I take the train rather than the plane.
How do you navigate it at Deutsche Bahn? It's almost a term that's almost political, I would say, sustainability and being sustainable. How do you do that all the time? When people, maybe they would say it would be great if trains would always be on time and then they can be sustainable, but let's set up priorities straight, something like this. How do you navigate this?
Actually, we need both. And as Jure already said, usually people work for our company and it's 230,000 employees. Yeah, it's quite a lot. Yeah. We are a purpose-driven company, and that is what you really feel and see in everyday life. The people are there because they want to contribute to sustainable mode of transportation. And for sure, and I can assure you as well, it's really embarrassing if our trains are not on time. Yeah, and we are consuming the precious time of our customers. No, it's really embarrassing. If you're sitting yourself in the train and said, oh my God, it's us, yeah. So we are working on that, you can be sure.
One big topic of the festival is also collaboration, that we don't need to do everything on our own, but we can do it together. What would you say, how does the Deutsche Bahn and you specifically leverage partnerships and collaboration to take sustainability to another level?
Yeah, I think it's clear we cannot do everything on our own. So I'm a strong believer of partnerships and collaboration. That is why we collaborate with the OEMs, for example. But also, if you look into the future, not back to the future, but into the future. So we work together with the DLR, so Deutsches Luft- und Raumfahrtzentrum, for example, to really see what are the cutting-edge innovations that are coming and how can we apply them at Deutsche Bahn. And also the startup ecosystem is quite important to us, because sometimes if you work too long on a topic, then it's good to have different perspective and fresh ideas, and that is what we really utilize and try to foster with our Mindbox community. And there's a booth over there as well. No, but it's really important to keep this fresh perspectives in.
How does Stadler do it? What are the successful collaborations that you do?
We work with universities. We work with our customers. I think the complexity in the development of technology is growing rapidly. So if you want to manage complexity, you need to collaborate. Nobody can manage today's problems by himself or herself anymore. So yeah, universities, customers. We hire people, we like to hire people who have knowledge and experience from other industries to get these new impulses, because it's very dangerous if you build technology that you do the things the same way you've done them 3, 4, 5 years ago. So you need a good mix, you need experienced people, and you need people who come from other industries, technologies, who gives this new impulse, and then combine it to the best mix.
How's it with startups? Can we see startups in the trains you're producing?
For us, not really yet. I think this is a topic, but you see, we are by ourselves. We are a very agile, very fast-growing company. We have so many things to digest on a daily basis. Sometimes you need to keep the appropriate pace.
Okay. That's good to hear. Annika, what would you say? The topic of collaboration.
Look, I think it's one of the biggest transformation we have ahead of us, and you can't do it without collaboration and playing the ecosystem. We, for example, work a lot with UN high-level champions on climate change and push forward the resilience agenda. And those are people from the startups, universities, companies, governments, in order to think through problems, because I believe the complex problems you can't solve by yourself. You need to bring best expertise, knowledge, and different perspectives to the problem in order to solve it.
When we reconvene on this panel in 2050, let's say, because we managed to do so in the same positions that we have, Daniela, how would you envision the future of the sustainability division at Deutsche Bahn? How does it look like?
When we meet again in 2050, we would sit here and I say, climate neutrality, mission accomplished. Growing biodiversity, like mission accomplished. Circular economy, mission accomplished. But and now I'm answering not as an engineer, perhaps more as an IT person. And you said that as well. Perhaps in Europe we might see not that much additional transportation or traffic because there might be other digital, more immersive technologies coming up, which, yeah, the need for mobility is reduced. It's not like a video conferencing, but feels much more precious and immersive. So that is something that I could imagine as well.
We're ending quite Hollywood-esque again. I really do like that. Annika, what would you say, your vision for 2050?
I think the transport system balances economic and environmental benefits. I think it is resilient, which I think is very important, and really efficient and climate neutral. And it is social, inclusive and accessible for everyone, because I think that everyone should access clean transport.
Is there one big change you can specifically name that happened in the industry by then?
I think that we will seamlessly lose different transport modes on demand and then jump from one to the other transport mode, and that we just don't see it anymore in which one we are, because it just functions so well and is so punctual.
That sounds exciting. Jure, what would you say? Maybe specifically from a passenger perspective. How would the U-Bahn, the S-Bahn, the other trains, how would they look like in 2050? In terms of sustainability, of course.
It's very, very difficult. If you look at the past, that's how we started here today. If you look at the past and see where we are today, it's very difficult to predict. I would say a majority of the trains will not have drivers anymore. If we manage this in the next 24, 26 years, I don't know, but it will go into that direction. We know by today that there will be not enough people prepared or even there to work as a train operator. So something like this will happen. I'm personally convinced that we'll see much less cars, because in the urban areas they really don't make too much sense.
We briefly talked about it. Maybe James Bond mainly rides on trains by then as well. We will see that. Thank you so much for your precious time. Thank you for your time. Enjoy a lovely festival. Thank you.
It's time to wake up.